Good. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Revolution of Interdependence. And today I have the great pleasure of talking with Nick Barrett. So Nick is a young entrepreneur. He's the founder of CordBrick. He holds actually a patent for this interesting idea. And we're going to talk about where his idea came from and how he formulated the product idea. He's an early stage investor, sort of still looking for a Series A round. So I think it's great to hear some of these stories of people who are just starting out and really looking to build a successful platform for the work they want to do in the world. Here's a great, so people sometimes send me little promos of what other people have said about them. Here's one that I found for Nick. An entrepreneur said about him, "I love his life story, the redemption, but most of all, I love the process." That's the kind of persistence and coachability that you need to have in a successful entrepreneur. The first time you meet Nick, you want him to win. And I love that, like this kind of like we're all in, and it's bringing the full game to it's bringing your full self to the game. So, well, first of all, welcome. We're so glad to have you here, Nick.
Thank you. Thank you, buddy.
All right. You bet. And so we always start with one question, which is, because this is the revolution of interdependence, we always want to start off by hearing a story of interdependence from you. So can you tell me the story of a person, a group, somebody that was the real difference maker for you that allowed you to do what you do in the world?
That quote that you mentioned, I think came from a gentleman who's helped me a ton. His name's Rick Monroe. And he'll be shocked I'm mentioning his name. But he this guy has given me a ton of his own personal time early in my venture, in my idea stage, kind of figuring out, he's an engineer. And so I went to him asking, how do I do injection molding for my product CordBrick, which is a weighted cord holder and has silicone, which covers steel on the inside to kind of keep your cord end on a surface, on a desktop or nightstand. And he was kind of coaching me through how I do an injection molding process and what were the parameters and design features. And, going into that, I'll be frank, I didn't know anything about it. I'm in recovery. I'm 5 years sober, and I dropped out of engineering in college to pursue a career in drinking. And so I got to be a professional in that. And so I didn't have the engineering knowledge going into this. And so, the kindness that Rick and other people have shown me early in this entrepreneurial venture, I think I don't know if it's really one person, because I'm fortunate enough to have so many different people that have kind of helped me and coached me along this path. But what I've noticed is that when you show an earnest effort to really want to learn something, get better at something, that people are willing to help you out. They're willing to give you their time and effort and knowledge and experience for free a lot of times. And that's what this guy, Rick, did for me.
I love that. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. So here's where I want to start. A bunch of us, a whole mess of us have been really frustrated with our cords and like, why can't this be better? And why is there a problem? And you said, here's a solution. Tell us about that process. Because rather than sort of gritching and moaning like most of us do, you said, I'm going to create a solution to this problem. Tell us what that looked like for you.
Well, in hindsight, I wish I had jumped on it a little sooner. I originally thought of the idea in 2015, and I was still active in my drinking at the time. And this was late December 2015. I still have the images time stamped on my iPhone. And the thought I remember actually clear as day. I was in bed, and I used to have a real problem sleeping. And probably because I was passing out and drinking all the time, I couldn't actually fall asleep. Looking back, that's what the real issue was. But so I would get really annoyed that my phone cord, back in the day, they were mostly 3 feet long or so, and the plug's on the middle of the wall, halfway down below the nightstand. And so it would just fall on the floor. And not only did I, have to get out of bed, but a lot of times I'd have to turn the light on to find the thing, and it wake me up and it ruined my sleep. And I just thought, there's got to be a better way to do this, right? Just like most people think of ideas as they got a problem with their own life, and they're like, okay, what can we do about this? And the only thing I saw at the time was those adhesive cord holders, and I didn't really want anything adhesive. I think my thought at first was, I want to be able to put this on my bed sheet. I want to like bring, just so I don't have to reach very far. I was lazy. I mean, that really was the gist of it. And so right away, though, I kind of transitioned that into, okay, what do I have here? All right, I've got a weighted block or brick that's going to hold my cord. Well, what else can it do? Well, I've got problems with traveling with my cord. And so I decided just about right away, I wanted to be able to wrap it too. So CordBrick is the first product that does both the kind of daily cord holding use, as well as that traveling with cords and wrapping not just one, but multiple cords too. It took a while for me to get to the stage of I was ready as a person and individual to launch a business and start this. And just looking back at myself in the first year or two of sobriety, even, I was not prepared to do what I'm doing today, mentally, emotionally. And so it's been quite a learning experience and a growing experience. And now I finally developed that motivation over many years. That's internal motivation, not motivated by those external things of how people view me. And, those first things that are just, I think, natural for most people when you come out of a state like I was in anyways.
Yeah. And those of us in recovery, we know phrases like time takes time. And, you sort of, you learn to, you get ingrained ideas like progress, not perfection, and things like that. And those really can help you. I often say that my time in the rooms of recovery helped me be a better human outside of the rooms of recovery, including giving me the capacity to imagine a better future me in ways that, I couldn't think of at the time when I was active in substance abuse.
Didn't think applied to me. I know. I just thought I just wasn't a good person in general, or maybe just wasn't capable of doing the same things. I thought I just didn't, I'm just not one of those disciplined people. And it's like, no, that's actually not the case. I can be quite disciplined when I have the proper motivation, which I do now.
That's amazing. That's great. And thank you for sharing that part of your journey as well. I think for those of us that have been through that process, there can be a little bit of mystery about it. Like, oh, it's this kind of thing off there, but it's just ordinary people trying to heal our lives and live a little more wholly. I love that. So so you have this idea. It started with some drunken frustration in bed. You got sober, and now you wanted to turn this dream into reality. Talk us through that process. How did that actually work? How did it come to be a product with a patent, with a company, and all that?
Yeah, that's a long answer, and so I'll try to summarize it best I can. But it's a long process, and I think where I sit today, just looking back at when I started developing the product in mid 2020, it took me till late 2021 to actually get inventory at scale. Produce large quantity of the product, get the price down at the right price point for people. So it's been almost 2 years now of development of the company. So where I am today is quite a bit different than where I was in 2020. Some of the biggest differences I would say are the trust that's been developed over a period of time. I think it's really difficult when your family has seen you a certain way for a long time, and friends as well, for them to, over a period of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they're not seeing you every day. And, you may not talk to some people for, a year or two or so. And then to bring them, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm launching a company now. Not only am I got my life back together and I'm not getting DUIs and arrested anymore, but I'm launching a venture. I'm asking for, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And I want, people to trust and believe in me and my idea. And so I think it's taken a little bit of time for the people closest to me to actually get to where some of the new people that I show the product to, where they are pretty much right away, which is, you need to get on Shark Tank with this, and you are ready, and you're born to do this. And so, I grew up in a family with a lot of government jobs and, 9-to-5s, and go to get a corporate, retire, all that sort of traditional. I'm very not from that mold myself. And just kind of accepting that over a period of time took a long time. And then just getting comfortable in my own skin in sobriety partially, but I'm fortunate enough to have went through what I just call a transformative period in my life that was brought upon by struggle. I don't think there's any other thing that could have done it to me personally. I was a stubborn guy, hard-headed, and I had to learn for myself, and no one could tell me anything. And so I think that fits being an entrepreneur quite well, actually. But
Right.
it hindered me for a long period of time until I was able to kind of get over that hump. So what could I tell myself for going back in the past to change earlier? That's a different thing, but it's been a process to get to where I am today. It's not easy. It takes time.
Time does take time. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced?
Definitely people not believing that one product can be a business, especially a small $10 item. I've had some pushback on that initially. Getting investment for that, I think, is part of the, and I think as well that I also didn't expect how much money it would take to launch a product at a $10 price point and get it out to the masses. I think one of the challenges with marketing a mass market product is you have a large market to market to. So, it'd be ideal if I could spend a lot of money, getting the word out there to a lot of people at once, because I was able to sell a lot of them in person when I first started selling the product, and then kind of transitioning that into online. What's been the difficult part for me, that direct to consumer approach. I recently got the product on Amazon, so I've got some PR and things like that going, articles here and there, and so we've had a lot of sort of a snowball worth of efforts towards the end of this year. It's also a great gift that I found for people at that price point has worked really well. So I think identifying the niches as well. One of the challenges with the mass market product is, for me, is you do have to target your markets in early startups really specifically to use your capital the most efficiently. And that's kind of difficult to do when, I did think, and I think this is a mistake a lot of founders will make, is they say, well, everyone's going to want my product, and just not true. For me, I think one of the things that I learned fairly quickly was I thought the product would be better for younger people, but frankly, younger people don't care about organization as much as older people do. And also they don't have money they want to spend on that. They got other priorities with their dollars. So that was a learning experience for me, but I did find a kind of an older, more niche market, and those people actually buy a lot of gifts. So it kind of fits in really well. Yeah.
I love that. What, now, in addition to sort of some of the technical challenges, the marketing challenges, talk to us about the personal journey as an entrepreneur. Like, what kind of emotional challenges? How do you get in the mindset of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think in recovery, and in particular, I think we're told to kind of let go and let God and things like that. Don't be the one that's trying to make all the decisions. Acceptance. Don't deny. And I think as an entrepreneur, often you do have to deny and say, no, I'm not going to accept that it's this way. I'm going to do it this other way. And so that's sort of a dichotomy for me, is sort of balancing that with, okay, after there's a famous paragraph talks about acceptance. And after that, next paragraph talks about that, if the world's a stage and I'm Shakespeare, and if all the actors and players would just do as I say, everything would just go according to plan and it would be perfect. And it does feel that way in the role of a founder's seat at a startup, when you've got marketing agencies and you've got videographers and actors and other people that, are just not doing it exactly the way you want. And so I hear this from other visionaries, founders, that delegating is one of the toughest parts for them. And so that has definitely been a tough part for me, is kind of the balance of letting go and also taking charge. And, again, as a founder, I need to do the bookkeeping, the accounting, and I need to understand how the website and the back end works, which is really not my strength, that technical aspect. So just accepting that, hey, I've got to take care of all the P's and Q's, because when I get to that financial section, I better know what I'm talking about, even though that I'm going to hire someone ideally down the road to do those things for me. I've got to do that whether I want to or not. And so that's, for me, that's been a tough balance, is balancing how much do I do what I want to do, which is that fun designing, idea creation part, and then how much do I integrate and get down to that hard-nosed implementation of here's what I'm going to do first, and then I'm going to do this, and then check, and those little annoying tasks that are tedious but necessary in a startup.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've often joked that there should be a special recovery program for entrepreneurs in recovery, because the idea that acceptance is the answer to all my problems is it works great, except when it comes to raising venture capital, because acceptance isn't the answer to raising venture capital. Like not taking no for an answer is the answer to raising venture capital. So I
That's
almost
right.
wonder if there should be like a special, a special recovery group just for us.
That's a good idea. I like that.
So are you, so you're raising venture capital though. So tell me, because the options that I hear typically for somebody in the direct to consumer space that you're working in is raise venture capital, build a large corporation around it, or bring on investment partners through this sort of Shark Tank process and all that. How are you thinking about that, and what decisions are you making?
We've said venture capital. I'm certainly not opposed to bringing in different partners, talking to angel funds. So whether that's venture capital, I know that this particular fund I'm talking to recently wants to be a minority partner, so not a controlling, partner as well. And I'm not really interested myself in giving up the visionary control of the company. I don't think that the right partner for me would want to take that away from me. I think I've kind of shown at this point that you kind of got to let me off the reins and see where I go and land, and then we can, figure out from there where we need to direct the vast majority of our resources. But I don't think I or people investing in me would desire that. But venture capital is interesting. Licensing is interesting for this product because stamping a logo on this product is pretty cool as a promotional product, because it goes on people's nightstands and desks, and it has a nice flat spot right in the middle. It's actually a really useful product for promotion. I'm a little concerned about the promotional industry. Not the high quality products all the time, and I'm trying to sell CordBrick as a reusable, lifelong solution for your cord management issues for wherever you go, for forever. It's it's food grade silicone, 400-degree temperature tolerance, all that. I ran over it with my car, it stayed intact. So anyways, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it does. It's helpful. Yeah, it's those kinds of questions, like when you're developing a market for something. And in my case, the market I'm developing is more around coaching, and certainly this podcast and things like that. But anytime you're developing a market, it's those trade-offs. You want people to buy it. But you want it to have integrity. I have some great promotional items that I've had over the years. I've got a USB drive that I still have from a conference, I think 3-4 years ago. So those are great. But what's like, how does your product stand out from the rest of the market, and how do you ensure that it does? Like, what's the thinking there to have some real product differentiation?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I love the question, right? I invented this product because I couldn't find anything that I wanted. The other options I see now online, anywhere I can look, are either weighted cord holder options, which is one of the aspects of my product. And then there's adhesive. So either you've got something that does sort of desktop cord holding, or you've got, and that can be moved. It doesn't have adhesive, or you've got things that you stick to different surfaces, right? And so what CordBrick is I think it's a more of a mobile and individual, sort of smaller product. The weighted cord holder, I think, is $17 or so on Amazon. I saw CordBrick on my website right now. I'm selling it for $9.99. So you can get a couple cord bricks for the same price as one, and it's got plenty of weight, so the weight's not an issue. That grippy silicone is just as good as better than the other products that I've seen. And then I think the thing that sets it apart is CordBrick is a travel tool. So it's meant, you can kind of snap the cord into CordBrick. I should have one and demonstrate for you. And then you can wrap your cord around CordBrick and lock it on the other side. You can see it on my website, cordbrick.com. It's got a bunch of good demos and little GIFs, quick videos. But also with CordBrick is you've got abilities to do different phone standing and propping and setting abilities too. So because of the way I designed CordBrick, it's a rectangular brick block shape. And so you can kind of set your phone on top of it. Just makes it interestingly convenient to just pick up and set down. You get your fingers underneath it really easily. You can use it as a stopper to prop it up. Then you can stand it and grab most cases. So it's a really diverse sort of multi-tool, I think, is what sets it apart. And so I think, people will find that there's nothing like it. And that's what I heard a lot in person selling these at a local market here was, you got to get on Shark Tank with this. There's nothing like this out there. And this applies to everybody. So as getting back to that mass market product, I mean, that's been one of the biggest challenges, is figuring out the exact messaging with so many uses for this product. I could even snap my Apple AirPods into it and it'll hold them so they don't get separated or fall apart if the case isn't there, or it's in my backpack or something like that. I'm on an airplane. So, lots of different uses. So that's the main thing, that Cord multi-tool phone, multi-tool.
Do you have any VC stories, cringeworthy VC stories you can share with us? Maybe you don't. This is a surprise question. I'm kind of throwing it at you, but I'm just wondering what your experience has been like. Some folks have just great experience with VCs and others really struggle. I'm just wondering what your experience in the whole funding process has been like.
I've been really lucky to run into a gentleman here named Tim Cartwright at the Tamiami Angel Fund here in Naples, Florida, who has given me a really honest introduction to funding in general and told me a lot of things to watch out for. I consider him one of the good guys, and I think that's the case for everybody around here. And his reputation speaks for itself. And so I haven't had the experience of running into anybody bad myself. I don't have any horror stories, so I'm sorry to disappoint you there, but I've heard from other people to watch out for sure about VCs. And I don't know, I'm a highly sensitive person. I really like developing a personal relationship. So I think anytime I would be interested in, working with someone on that level, I would really like to get to know them and who they are as a person, and not be as interested in, what their offer was. I'd certainly give the offer to people I trust to read over it. But the thing that I would be looking for is, what kind of person am I working with, and how is this going to work out when things go south? Because you've got to have some really difficult conversations, I found, with family and friends, investors, when you're dealing with money. And so I think it's paramount to just find that right partner, right person. And maybe they are a venture capitalist, maybe they're an angel investor. So.
Right. So I want to go back a little bit to your experience, though, because I want to figure out how you got there. You talked about dropping out of college, and now here we are talking to you, and you're the CEO of a startup with a patent, and you're building this concept. Talk us through the steps in between there, because there was a lot of things that happened, I'm sure, in the middle there.
Sure. I mean, the end of this month, we're about to go ask for $1 million from an angel fund. So that's quite a bit different than where I was 5.5 years ago, coming off a third DUI and, heading to do a couple months in jail here in Florida for that. And, really not knowing where my life was going, and seeing other people pass me by, my peers and, siblings and things like that. And really just disappointing people around me. So, man, what a total transformative process. I looked in the mirror for many years and asked myself, why couldn't I change? And so, I had some punishments and some consequences that really allowed me, and in hindsight, gave me the benefit of someone kind of tapping me on the shoulder and saying, here's what you're going to have to do for a period of time. I had an alcohol ankle monitor on my ankle for 4 months after that third DUI, and I couldn't take a drink, or else the thing would sense it and wirelessly transmit it to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office from my bedroom.
Right.
For 4 months. And so, I was on probation for years, and, having to do, checks and make sure, I wasn't going to bars and things like that. And so, I recently got a blow box off of my car and got my license almost back. I've still got 5 more years on technically a suspended license. So I can only drive for work and, not pleasure officially.
Right.
I don't do most of the time. I get other people to drive me. So I think a humbling was a huge part of it. I kindly say I wish people in my position just enough pain to decide to make a change. Because for me, that was, I think, the driving factor. It's not the case for everybody. Some people can develop that internal motivation and have other reasons for doing it. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, it is some kind of outside factor that comes in, and you just kind of realize either the game's up or it's over with. And but I wouldn't have estimated how much time it did take me to recover mentally. And I would say that one of the most important lessons I have now is I use that word recover lightly, because I'm not recovered in the past tense. I know that this is a lifelong growth process. I don't think I'd want it to be any other way. And I frankly I got to watch myself a little bit with resenting other people now who don't have the same affinity for personal growth, and they're, who've had successful lives and have had no reason to change. like I have. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that answer. Thank you. One of the sayings that means a lot to me these days is the Stoic saying, amor fati, love your fate. And, in the rooms of recovery, I used to hear people saying that they were a grateful alcoholic. And frankly, that really pissed me off. Like, I did not want to hear that. But if you allow yourself to be transformed, what ends up happening is there's a process of change that occurs in you where suddenly takes a while. It's a year, it's 2 years, it's 3 years, but then suddenly you're involved and engaged in ways in the world that you didn't even imagine before. And it sounds like I'm hearing the same thing from your story.
I'll say I can't stand the phrase "everything happens for a reason." Get that out of here, man. That's not true. I did, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Right.
I think the reason that I like to believe that is because, like you said, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And I think that with people that I've known and people who've gone through traumatic situations, the people who've gone through some of the worst traumatic situations can bring some of the best things to other people. And I think people often underestimate what they are capable of providing to other people for some reason, thinking that only other people can provide it to them somehow. And I just want people to know that that's not true. And I think that if you get in the mindset of, that it's just inevitable and that things just happen for a reason and there's just nothing I can do about it, and I don't have any agency or control over my life. It's like, no, actually, you can take just about any situation and you can put your own spin on it and figure out how you're going to make it better and what you're going to do about it. And we don't have to sit here and just twiddle our thumbs and, actually listen to something you said about starting. And, I think it's important to visualize who and what you are beforehand and know that that's who you are. But that first step, you don't develop motivation by just sitting there. You have to develop motivation by getting into the habit. The motivation comes afterwards. It doesn't come before you start doing the habit, to me anyways. So
right. Yeah. I could not agree more. Exactly. But I agree 100%. Here's my question. Was it your experience? Because so part of my experience in going through recovery was that I had such a terrible view of myself that when a group of people said, we're going to love you until you can love yourself, we're going to believe in you until you can believe in yourself, that had this deep power to transform me to where I could then say, okay, now look out, because now I really do love myself. I really do believe myself. And it's amazing what I can do myself. Was that similar to your experience?
No, yeah. That subconscious self-sabotage was prevalent in my life. And it even became prevalent into my sobriety years to some degree. And I was confused as to kind of what was going on. Drinking is but a symptom of the greater disease, right? You don't have to be an alcoholic to have what I had, that mental capture of your mind. And people can take it out in many other ways by shopping, just, buying stuff when they don't feel good, or porn addictions and lots of other, unhealthy ways of dominating, controlling people and exerting their will. And, there's a lot of ways to get off in your mind, and think your way into pain and suffering and stuff like that. So I think that mastering of my mind was very difficult and confusing and long. And it wouldn't have happened without, for me, those other people kind of telling me, look, you're not your thoughts. You are what you decide to do about your thoughts. Okay. Everybody has different thoughts that come into their head and pop into their head. And it's what we all take action on that really matters. And so you can consider stuff and think about things and have reactions, but we don't know why all these things are happening. And it's, it's that action that does make the difference next. And so if you act on it or not, changing your idea, mind, changing, so.
Absolutely. I love that answer. Love that answer. Okay. So I know the people listening to this podcast are going to want to follow your journey. What's the best way for them to do that? I know we'll put in some of your links, but how can they best keep up with you?
Sure. Yeah. I'd love if they just follow CordBrick on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, at CordBrick. Just search CordBrick on any of those. One word, CordBrick. You can also go to cordbrick.com. And just check out our different colors. We've got glow in the dark CordBrick as well. great for the nightstand as well when you flick the lights off. I'm at Original Niche on Instagram, but that I would say that's it. Check me out on LinkedIn if you're a professional, want to connect as well.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This was fun. This was really, I love all my podcast guests. This had a real rich flavor to it. So thank you for your presence and bringing your full self. And I will look forward to following your journey.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, feelings mutual. You got a listener as well. Love your message as well. And keep on sharing it, man. Thanks, Will.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Nick. Bye.